Hello, Mac the Irish Football Fan TV. I'm delighted to be joined by former Republic of Ireland international Jeff Hendrick, and we're in this one. It's gonna be a love buzz. This one, I think, coming off the back of such a brilliant international window. Jeff, how are you feeling?
Yeah, feeling good. Like you said, I didn't hear that phrase before, love buzz, but yeah, probably is going to be a lot of love to the lads for what they brought to all of us.
Yeah, and let's look. And you've been in this situation yourself where it hasn't been probably the best of years. The last maybe 5 years or so probably hasn't been the best in terms of the morale and within the country and stuff like that. So for the lads to dig out the two results in the manner in which they have, I mean, bring me back to your thoughts from say pre-Portugal to post Hungary.
Yeah, I think if you be realistic, obviously we all want to hope and dream, and we want to get to a major tournament, and especially I know what it brings to the nation, to the players, to their friends, family, to their careers as well. But after seeing how the campaign started, you knew it was a mountain to climb, really. And you're wishful. You look at the Portugal side and you think, yeah, they're amazing. They're a great country. But then I think, like I was talking to John Egan, you look on the day and the players that weren't playing in that game, and you think there's a chance. But me being, when I was a footballer as well, if anyone asked me going into any game, I'm like, oh, it's going to be hard. Of course, you play it down and you don't want to jinx it as such. And the lads went out, and don't get me wrong, they were missing players, but it's still a hard team to beat. And I think in the way they beat them, like the first game was, it was positive. I would say we looked like an Irish side who were able to be there together and defend and be hard to beat, and we really were up until one moment. So I think they took positives from that, and then in the home game they were resilient like that, and they defended really well. I loved the way they just made them. They couldn't go through us. They had to go wide, and all they had was cross into the box, and the lads were brilliant. Like, we've three mountains in the middle of the box ready to head it, clear it, put their bodies on the line, and that was brilliant. But I loved the other part. Sort of long balls is a bit of a throwback, and teams don't do it enough. Maybe it's coming back into football a little bit now, but we were pumping balls up the pitch, and it wasn't just pumping; it was putting them into nice areas where players with pace who could get onto it and cause them trouble. And they really made the Portugal defense look like basic. And these are some top quality players, and I couldn't. I obviously I say I couldn't believe what I seen, but I couldn't believe how Ireland came out and done that after the start they had to the campaign. And I think that was a brilliant win. And then to roll that on into Hungary, you knew it was going to be tough. Hungary are a good team, but they done the same. They stayed in the game, and I think that's one of the things I've learned over the years is if you stay in the game and they can't lose it, they're going to get nervous. And with us getting the equaliser, probably with 10 minutes to go or whatever, gave us enough time, and they just sat back and they got deeper and deeper and deeper. And then we scored obviously at the perfect time just to have a great finish. But I think it just gives them no chance as well. So yeah, probably getting back to it, I was obviously hopeful, but I didn't see it coming. Do you know what I mean? And I'd openly say that to the players, like, you have done something that nobody expected, and I think that's magical. That's football. Troy touched on it in his press conference after, and it's like that's why people love football, because stuff can happen like that.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think one of the key points you made there was obviously staying in the game. Like when it was the 3rd minute and they scored that goal, the atmosphere in the stadium was obviously there, but it was frightening in the stadium, and that was only like I was only in the media section. Never mind, the actual pitch or playing the match. And I spoke to fans as well. I spoke to a lot of fans over there, and they all said similar. Like they felt themselves shrinking in the stadium because the Hungarian fans were so good, and I mean that in the best way possible. They were hostile. They were exactly how you'd probably want our fans to be, and probably were towards Ronaldo and co for the Portugal game. And yeah, I just like did the I must ask you though as well. Did the Portuguese game, did that bring you back to the game that we played under Stephen Kenny when John Egan scored? I think you played that game, and that similar
Right.
performance.
The away game.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I'd say so. Definitely the game on Thursday gone, because we did have to defend. We got lucky, well, not lucky, but Gavin Bazunu, penalty save. You're thinking it's going to be a long night. Probably Ronaldo, a couple of years earlier, was more mobile, a bit more of a threat. And it's hard to say. Like I think he is a bit of a hindrance to them at times because he's 40 years of age. Do you know what I mean? But it did remind me of that, where we had out balls. I think Aaron Connolly played that night.
Yeah,
and
Idah, yeah.
probably should have scored at one point. I think it was in the first half, but
I think he got
we knew
fouled. Actually, I think he was shooting and
that
got
foul.
fouled.
Yeah,
We didn't get the penalty, but
yeah, no, definitely. Like we tried to play at times, but it is difficult playing away against a really top opposition because you're defending so much. It's hard to then when you win the ball, like people say, "Oh, it's bravery to go and get on it." Sometimes it's like I'm knackered here, like but I need to go and move and help me mate who's on the ball. He's got nothing on, and I think the Ireland team last Thursday they were brilliant at that. Like they defended so well and showed them wide, but then when we got the ball, we were playing long passes, I'd say, because it wasn't hopeful balls. But there was times where they would play through the middle, get 2 or 3 passes before going long. And that's something we definitely had to do when we played them away that game, because you do go into it, and like I said, we probably were all hopeful and wishful, and we're thinking, oh, it's going to be hard. But when you're that guy stepping onto the pitch, you are confident. You're like, no, I smell something. We can do something tonight. And it won't necessarily be like, oh, I'm going to go buy 3 players and put it in the top bin. Like it's going to be, right, I'm going to make sure no passes go by me, no player goes by me. And when I get the ball, I'm going to put it into a nice area and give us a chance to get up the field. And I feel they brought that confidence into the game. And the only thing I can think of is just them playing well at club level, or they matched them away. And they probably came off that pitch after losing. Losing was probably the best thing, where they thought, do you know what? We only defended. We didn't even show what we could do going forward. And we nearly got a result. So if we were able to bring that into the game at home with our fans needing a win, like we desperately needed a win, we can trouble them. And they definitely done that. It was, like I said, amazing to see. For me, on a sort of a personal level, like a lot of them young lads who probably not as young as they were when they first came in, but for me to see them come in, stars in their eyes, future ahead. They openly talked about it, like wanting to get to a tournament, seeing me, Robbie, Seamus, James in tournaments, and you could see that hunger come out over. I think, well, definitely the Portugal game, but definitely the 2 games. And they brought that, like this is a chance. And you do realize as the years go on, you don't have many opportunities. And I feel like they really, with 2 hands, grabbed the opportunity to get themselves into a playoff.
yeah, and I think they're really good points as well. I think that you made, and I just want to go back to what you said about staying in the game, because I think it could have been easy to not stay in the game when we went a goal down so early in the game. Could have crumbled, And I thought we really held our composure well, the players, because it was a game where it looked like, with the atmosphere and everything like that, it wasn't going to go our way. The general feeling was kind of like that. And you also mentioned about, not feeling like we were going to win it. At 2-2, I thought Hungary were just going to hold out for a draw and that was going to be it. And another campaign passed as a spy. But I have to say, for the lads to really show the want and will to win was brilliant, because it was a bit of a throwback. We haven't had results like that. You've obviously played a lot of teams where we've got big results and you've kind of seen the other side of it too. So I think it was so nice for so many of them psychologically to have those two moments this week, and hopefully it's a turning point for them in their careers. And you also spoke kind of about their families and stuff like that. I've seen, I imagine so many of their family members will have seen online hate, horrible comments, all the sort of stuff that they have to deal with continuously, and they finally get this week of just like the perfect week. I'm just so happy for them in that sense. And I know a lot of the lads kind of personally, from seeing them coming up from the under 21s and stuff like that, and seeing them in the mix zone afterwards, and they're coming up and they're shaking hands, just smiling and just really, really enjoying the moment. And then players like Seamus Coleman, who I want to speak to you about at some point as well. Just for you, you've played with these boys. They're probably like little brothers to you as well. I imagine there's a real sense of pride in what they did the last week for you.
Yeah, I'll start with obviously what you went back to, going a goal behind so early. Like, even I was like, oh no. You're thinking this is like, we need to win. Do you know what I mean? And then the game sort of leveled out and went stale a little bit, and then we got back, and you're thinking, all right, can we kick on from here? And then they got the goal, and you're thinking, oh no, again. And it did go stale. And as it's creeping up to late 70s into the 80th minute, I think we need a goal. Like, we can't score two in stoppage time. We need one now to give us a chance. So for them to, for them, probably they wouldn't have noticed it on the pitch, but them just staying in the game, and I wasn't at the stadium, might have quieted their crowd down a little bit.
It only went quiet at the very end, Jeff, to be honest with you.
They weren't.
No, they were loud throughout till the very end, till the last gasp.
Me watching it on TV, I was like, oh, there's not much in it. Like, there's not really much happening in the game. And you're thinking, right, how do we now find a goal? And I think personally, I think it was a good touch putting Finn Azaz a little bit deeper, because the ball through to Troy was brilliant. And then he had one through that, I think it was to Adam Idah, but then it went through to Kenny. But like, he was trying to pick out passes, and that's what I liked. Like, that we needed to force something, risk something. So I think that initially was a good move. But then, like I said, the lads just to sort of stay in the game, what we touched on, that needed to happen. And then, going on to the lads, their family, the sort of, not, I wouldn't say hate, but the slagging they would have got. Like, I've been there, I've had it for years and years, and like, you as a person, you're able to turn a blind eye to it, even though you see you're able to do it. But then when your family and friends are seeing it, and they probably don't mean it in a bad way, but they'll bring it up in conversation. Oh, did you see that? Or did you see that being said? And you as the player, you're like, oh, I don't want to see that. Like, I need that out of my mind. So for them, of course, it would have been difficult. Like, I agree what you said a good few minutes ago, when Irish football hasn't been good, hasn't had good times since probably pre-COVID.
Yeah.
And it's been a really hard 5 years for the fans and for the players. Like, the players, a lot of them were young lads who came in during COVID, and they're finding their feet, and they found it difficult, because when I came into the Ireland squad, it was like, all right, you're going into, the first team with a lot of big players who you're watching in the Premier League who you've supported for years, and straight away there's bonding where you're going for food or the cinema, or I suppose nobody will mind me saying it, you're going for a few points at the start of the camp, and you really are bonding and you get to know people. But when these lads came into the group, like I was 28, but I was one of the older ones, we weren't able to do that. So there was a little bit of a divide where it takes time to get to know each other, and everyone was afraid of COVID and whatever. So we couldn't properly initiate them into the group. So them coming in and they were good names for the under 21s and what they were doing at their clubs and getting ready to break in. But we couldn't merge the group quick enough because the restrictions really. So it took time, and that's why I say like 5 years. But I think you see it now probably with the manager and the staff. I don't know what they're doing, but it looks to me from the outside it's a little bit of a throwback where there is bonding. They are all together. Maybe I don't know if it's them or they've just had that many years together where they're friendly with each other and they're used to each other, and that familiarity is there. But like I said, they've done brilliant, but they have definitely seen that hate and getting back to it. Like it would have affected them. And like I said, no player wants to go out and not try, not do well for their country, their family, their friends, themselves. That self-pride is there. So for them to turn the whole group around after 3 games, we all thought they were dead and buried, pretty much. And for them to turn that around, I think it's something they should be really proud of. And I think us as a nation, we should be proud of them. And I know it's not fully done yet. We still go into March and there's still a job to be done. But I think for them just to, get that off their back, where it's like, people, you know what they're saying, like, we're not going to do that, or the lads are rubbish, they're doing this, that. And it's like, no, like collectively, the fans, players, everything, we need that to be together, because when we do go into games and the support of the nation is there, the lads will feel so tall going into a game and they'll have that confidence. But it just takes time. And like I said, the whole COVID stuff and new managers and everything, it will affect it. And that's why I think it took time.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with all of that. Can I just, I probably want to publicly say this, is that I actually want to apologise to Heimir Hallgrímsson, because I was guilty as well, as you say, after 3 games, and we were doing shows like who should be the next manager. For him to have flipped it in the way that he's done, I mean, he's done unbelievably well, and we only want to see the best for Ireland, and for him to do that, I think he's completely justified staying on as manager from the way he's turned it around. And it does make me kind of question whether if we had had Troy, but he was fit and firing earlier in the campaign, maybe we would be a bit further along, because he obviously was injured for the first few games. And it's just kind of gets you wondering after that. It's just funny how football works. But I do think I owed him an apology. I'm not sure if he's even going to watch this, but I just said I would put it out there, because I'm fair. I always, like, if I'm too far one way, I'll come back the other and apologise. So he does deserve an apology from me anyway.
No, I think you're dead right. And I think not just from you, from a lot of people. Do you know what I mean? He came in, I think the circumstances he came in was difficult, with how long it took to appoint a manager, and there was 10 other names maybe before them, and they couldn't get him, so we move on to the next one, and it actually became nearly a joke where we couldn't get a manager. And then he came in, and the team weren't doing well when he came in, so it's not going to just switch like that. It's not like he had the team in a club level where you're working with them every day and week, and you can turn it around. Like he just had short windows. So I think it was probably harsh how people wrote him off.
But I didn't like Jeff as like a lot of people get personal, but like, the dentist. I don't really like
Yeah,
that. So like judge him on his results and stuff like that. Fair enough, but like to be just, it's just like this ongoing joke. I was constantly like slagging him for being a dentist. I don't really get that. But yeah,
yeah. Well, the dentist is a good job. Like if my son said to me, "I want to be a dentist," I'd be like, go ahead. Yeah, it's a good job to have. But like obviously, I know we worked with Iceland, and I know players who've worked under him. So you know, I don't know when he was a dentist, and obviously it was a long, long time ago. But if he's jumped through all the hoops to become a coach and a manager, I think you have to take that as face value and give him a go. And I think a lot of well, to be fair, we are a slagging nation where we do like to have a bit of crack and all, but it was difficult times from coming in at the start. But I'm delighted for him as well, because he does interviews, and whether he's getting stick or praise, I think he just stays the same. Like every time I've seen him talk, he's just been fine. He's been level-headed. Everything. He's not got ahead of himself. He's not beat himself up. And at the end of the day, he's delivered the nation hope. So, and people were, like you said, people were talking about who's going to be the next manager. This person's available, this or that, and all. And I do think probably it was unfair, especially with big games, and they've turned it around. So he's definitely in line to stay in his job. I think regardless if March doesn't go well for us, the way he's turned it around and to get 9 points out of the last 3 games is amazing. And then we all know playoffs can go either way. It's a toss of a coin, really. So I think he's done brilliant. And why would you sack someone who brought us so close after taking over in circumstances that bad and everyone being on his back? Do you know what I mean? So I think credit to him.
the only thing I could say about him, right? I haven't seen a buzz like this since probably we played Denmark, and that was a game I think he played in that one with Ericsson.
Don't bring that one up, Jesus.
I know, yeah, I know, but that, and I want to come back to that result later, just purely in a positive manner. I know you're probably thinking, what am I talking about? But,
No, I'll talk openly. Don't worry.
But the amount of people that have been texting me today about flights to go, like people that have never, they'll always. They probably slaughtered me when I first started doing this and covered the Irish team, and they were like, "Why do you cover the Irish team? They're crap. They're this. They're that." And then they're trying to get flights. Now they're trying to get tickets. Now they're all like. But what I'm basically saying is, if you look at like, he's gone complete 360 of, or 180, whatever you want to call it, of the lot. We were all so low. And he's completely flipped it.
I'm laughing at the 360. He just ended up back in the same spot. But yeah.
Yeah, sorry. But yeah, he was like completely flipped it on his head. And then like we're in a situation now where, as you say, regardless of what way March goes, and we're going to talk about that in a sec, but it's given the nation something to believe in again. And I think once this Irish team is doing well, you see the scenes everywhere. Like I'm talking all over the world. There was scenes in Dublin Airport. There were scenes in Budapest. There were scenes I seen scenes in Vietnam. All these places. The Irish team is global, and people should know this as well. From Paddy's Day, it's very global as well. But I just think for what he's delivered in that, like just to give us that moment back, I think just purely on that, without getting like too emotional, too over the top, I think he's earned his contract in the 3 results, as you said. The way to come back, to beat Portugal, to go to Hungary and win away, huge, absolutely huge. So I'm absolutely delighted for him. But I just wanted to talk about 2 people who you are very friendly with. You mentioned John Egan and you mentioned Seamus Coleman. I heard that those 2 were extremely instrumental in the last couple of games as well. So can you touch on them and maybe how they might have been around the camp? I don't really, you don't have to give any secrets away what John said to you or anything like that. I don't mean it like that, but I just mean, like, I heard they were unbelievable around the dressing room, and Seamus Coleman to have that moment that he had with the fans was lovely to see as well.
Yeah. First, I'll touch on the John stuff. Like I talk to him once a week. minimum, probably twice a week on the phone. And I actually talked to him on the afternoon before the Portugal game. And we have normal chat, like a normal chat, a little bit of football, but it'll be just general chit chat. And that's the way we go about it. And I was like, how are you feeling for tonight? And he's probably a lot like me, where he's like, yeah, it's going to be tough, but we'll give it a go. And like kept his cards close to his chest, and rightly so. You don't want to be, even when you're playing someone lesser than you, and you should be, you're still going to play it down as a footballer and say, no, it's going to be difficult, which realistically every international game is. It's difficult. So he didn't give any sort of pearls of wisdom away to me or anything like that. But no, I know what John will be like. He's bubbly character. He's been a captain himself for years. He was my captain underage when we went back to under 17s and 19s and all. And so we know each other that well. And he's the type of guy who will sit down beside anyone. He'll just chat away. Like, it won't be football chat. He won't be, trying to pull information out of players and are you ready for it or whatever. He'll go about it in a subtle way, but he'll just get the moods up. And he'd be playing cards with the lads. He'll go and grab a coffee with the lads, and he'll help make it a relaxed environment. And he's always up for watching a bit of sport and having a crack and a bit of slagging. So I think that just maybe coming in and just keeping it calm and level-headed would be good to have around, especially him scoring against Portugal, him playing well against Portugal.
You said a calming presence, but also he's captained that Irish team too.
Yeah, and even when he was captain, he was calm. He would say stuff before the game, but he wouldn't be shouting and bawling. Where you're like, oh, there was a calmness to him, and that's the way John approaches it. And like, I'm probably similar to that, where it's like I wouldn't shout and bawl. It's like you're just calm, and throughout the week you're going about your business, and you'll chat a little bit during training, through dinner, whether you're in the room playing cards or you're doing whatever. He'd bring that calmness. And then on to Seamus. Like, Seamus is, I say Seamus is Seamus, but I mean that in the best possible way, because all these lads would have seen Seamus, what he's done for the country, what he's done in his career. And when Seamus does walk into a room, it's like, people will go quiet and look at him and watch him. And he's got that aura around the Ireland setup, where it's like he is the captain. But then on the other hand, Seamus will say his word when he needs to. He'll say his piece, and he doesn't hold back. And I've been on the other end of it, where in training or whatever, like it could be training, it could be a game. He will let you know how he feels, and I love it. Do you know what I mean? Like I said, I've been on the other end of it, and me and Seamus have had 10 years together, and we became close. And there's been times where there's probably been arguments or exchanges of words, and that's just football. Like, you take it, and then after it, you talk about it and you have a laugh. There's times where he said, "Oh, I've probably gone over the top," and I'm like, "No." I was like, "You're the one person in the squad who probably gets to go over the top. You're the captain. Like, if you feel something in your heart, go and say it. And it doesn't matter if I'm on the other end of it and we're friends. Like, just tell me, and like we're doing now, we'll talk about it. It's fine. Like, it's done." And I think Seamus has that, where like he's so passionate, like obviously about Ireland, but just about football. And he'll give the ball away. He'll expect someone to give out to him. He doesn't care if it's their first cap or not. Like, people probably talk about standards and all, and there is certain people throughout your career you meet with them standards, and like, he's one of them. And another one, like just off the top of my head, would be like a Glenn Whelan, who wouldn't, and the both of them are quite similar in a way where they probably, not like John, where they go about chatting to everyone. Like, oh, I need to talk to, I haven't talked to him in a day. They go about their own thing. They will talk to people eventually, but it takes time probably to, crack the little nut that they have, they're in their zone. But then when you get to break them down and get to know them, they're brilliant people, and you just know they care about their country, about, having a positive result, and about themselves, because if someone's not pulling their weight, it will affect them as well. So I'm not surprised that people have said having them two win has been positive, because it's probably not as far as good cop, bad cop, but I think they both have different ways they approach a camp and how they approach players and all. And with the experience they have, of course, the younger lads are going to, look onto it and be like, okay, this is what's needed, this is what's required, and they've been there where, they've competed against top countries, so of course the younger players are going to listen to them.
Yeah, 100%. That just I'll Seamus. I mean, I've yet to hear anyone say a bad word about the guy, and every single manager he's played under has just come out and credited him. And I think Heimir Hallgrímsson said he was a battery. He provides energy to all the people around him, and that was kind of his best adjective to describe him. No, I kind of see him in a different light to use. Like, he's probably my favourite footballer, being an Everton captain and an Ireland captain. But like, anytime I've met him, he's just been so nice. I've seen him sign autographs for absolutely anyone who's there, get photos with absolutely anyone. He's just, I suppose the best way you could say it is that if you ever had a son, you'd want him to be like Seamus. I'd probably say that's probably the best way you could describe him.
Yeah, or if you had a daughter, you want them to marry Seamus.
Yeah.
No, that's but no, he's a true gent, and like I said, I've been lucky to sort of spend 10 years with him through the Ireland setup, and and to bump into him outside of it, not even playing against him, just outside of it at different functions or whatever. Instantly, especially when you've done something in your career with that player, like, you're just drawn to each other, and you get on so well. But I think Seamus is, like you said, he's such a nice character, not just to the lads or what fans see on TV. Like, if you do genuinely bump into him, he'd be so obliging and just nice, and he'll accommodate any requests you have. So yeah, I definitely agree with you with that.
100%. Well, let's get into the nuts and bolts of this playoff draw that we had today. So we got drawn against Czech Republic, and if we get past them, we will have a home draw against either Denmark or North Macedonia. Did you watch the draw live, or did you hear about it after, or how did it all play out for you?
I was wondering if you'd asked. No, I didn't watch it live. So since sort of finishing football, one of my hobbies now is jiu-jitsu. So I was actually walking into jiu-jitsu, and I had the draw on live, and then just as I got to the European draw, I think it was Africa, Asia first.
Yeah, it took ages. Yeah, it was really annoying.
Yeah, so that took ages, and I'm walking down thinking, come on, will you get on with it? And just as it was about to start, I'm there in my full jiu-jitsu gear. The professor said, right, line up onto the mats. So I had to turn it off, and an hour and a half later, I found out who we were drawn against, and it was actually John Egan. I rang him straight away. I was like, what's the draw? Where are we at? And he filled me in on it. So, yeah, unfortunately, I couldn't watch it live. It was probably in my mind while I was on the mats. But once he told me, I was happy with it. I don't think. I think there could have been more difficult draws we got. Don't get me wrong. I'm going to put my football hat back on and say, it's going to be a tough game going away to anyone. But I think if they give the level of performance they gave last week in them two games, with the commitment, I think the togetherness, the whole group, even players who came on, they knew exactly what they were fighting for, and now they're that one step closer to go away to anyone in pot 2 and be fearful. I couldn't see that happening now with after them results. So I was happy with that. And then obviously in the back of my mind, potentially, we're all going to say, like, if we beat them, we're going to play Denmark. For me, it'd be nice to see the lads obviously do Denmark, because I was on the other hand of a walloping, really, yeah.
Yeah, no, I was going to come to that at some point, but I think I was watching it at the time, and I remember I was doing a live stream at the time, and we had so many people join us in the comments, and they were all kind of saying, like, when we got to Path D, and we like avoided the likes of Italy and Wales, Poland, Turkey, Sweden, Ukraine, we were kind of going, do you know what? Of all the, like, we may have got Slovakia, and that might have been maybe a better draw in some people's eyes, but I think, in comparison to Hungary, they're probably on a similar level to Hungary, I would say.
Yeah, and what we drew and beat Hungary.
Yeah.
So that's why I look at pot 2 and think that you can't be fearful of anyone there, especially if you've got that, cherry dangling of a World Cup. I think, right, you can't let anyone stand in your way. And I think the draw we had, it's quite nice. I was expecting us to get an Italy or a Sweden or something. Who I think Sweden will come good. Like, they had an awful time in this campaign. You're thinking, because it's so long to March as well, who knows what will happen. So you're like, I'm happy with who we got drawn against, and I did. Obviously, we have to get by the semi-finals first, but then I watched Denmark against Scotland the other night, and they were really good, and they probably didn't deserve to lose the game, but they're not like the Denmark of 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago. I think the players are aging, and I don't think they have that new crop coming up, and I don't see, especially us at home, I don't see why we should be fearful. And if we win the semi-final, the confidence that will bring us going into the final at our stadium, like we touched on already, the nation behind us, the stadium's going to be a sellout. Like, I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, and I think you made a good point, is that we can't look past Czech Republic. But can I just ask you, if I haven't been a man who's played in semi-finals and playoffs and played in playoffs and stuff like that, what is it kind of like going into those sort of games? And I agree with you, like, we need to, like, it will be amazing if we could get past Czech Republic and get full redemption of that Denmark game, because I think that's probably been a game that's really scarred us for a number of years, that we'd never really recovered from. I know we had the good results probably against Scotland, but we've really kind of not lived up to probably the standards that we've wanted to previously in terms of results. And that one was probably a tough one to take. It probably did a lot of goodwill towards Martin and Roy as well, because of the way that kind of fizzled out towards the end as well, after the back of that result, which was unfortunate. And it was one of those games, like, actually reminiscent of the Hungary game, where we basically went all out attack and it went against us. That's the risk you take in football. It went for us the other night. They're the fine margins, I suppose.
Yeah, I think firstly, like you said, like, we can't look past Czech. Like, we need to do that. And for me, I obviously had the Bosnia game. Trying to think off the top of my head.
Estonia, did you play that?
No, geez, I'm not that old. Bosnia was one, and then the other one was Denmark. Yeah. And I liked the way the both of them were. Was the first game was away, second game was at home. Obviously, it worked out for us against Bosnia. It didn't against Denmark. But I liked that, and I think if they can sort of look at that, like, it's a home and away. You don't lose the away game, away and then home. If you don't lose the away game, you've got a really good chance. And I know this is a different setup where there's two different teams, but if you go out and go to win that game, don't lose it. I think coming back onto a home soil, you're confident no matter what. And like I said, the Bosnia game, we went away and we didn't lose away, and it set us up for a great evening. And then we went and won, and we done the same against Denmark. We went away, we didn't lose. It got into the home game. We went the goal up. Unfortunately, Ericsson in his prime put them ahead, and then we went gung ho to get the result back. Probably a bit too early doing it at halftime. Now looking back at it, but yeah, that's the way it goes. We could have gone for it and then turned the result around and won 3-4-2 or whatever. But in the end, they ran away with it. But yeah, I think if you look at the lads going into this game, they need to win it. Obviously, they need to win both games. But you look at Czech, and I don't see us losing. Like I honestly don't. And
Love to hear it.
like I said, there's a lot of time between now and March, and anything can happen. But I think the feeling them lads would have felt for the first time, probably in their Ireland career, that last week will fuel them with so much. Like they'd be going back to their clubs now, but they'd be gutted that they're not meeting up with Ireland again next month. Do you know what I mean? And they won't forget that memory and sort of how the whole nation has responded to them. Like their friends, family, everyone will be letting them know what people have been saying and everything. And when they go into March, I'd like to see them just on the front foot, and like I said, playing with that togetherness and the bond that they've built over this campaign, because it's definitely something strong for them to turn around the first 3 games to now. And if they can bring that in and literally play the exact same way, I know it's going to be a lot tighter, and it's a semi-final, so there's not going to be mad possession-based teams where they're going to play you off the park. It's going to be neck and neck. But if they have that where they stay in the game and they know they can get late goals, they can hurt the team, I think that will give them a lot of confidence. And then if they're able to do that, which we all hope they are, going into that final, and you want it to be a cup final. Like they went into Portugal and Hungary there, and before each game was said it's a cup final.
Yeah.
And the lads shown they're able to do it in a cup final. So like I said, with the teams potentially will play, obviously we know who it is, semi-final, but when you get to the final, there's no fear, and they've done it before. They've beaten bigger teams and better teams. They'll be fine.
Yeah, I think it's a good point you made about just in March. Like, you'd almost wish the playoffs were next week with the buzz and the way the team was playing. You'd almost wish it was next week,
yeah.
and because with international football as well, it's you never know who's going to be injured or what's going on or anything like that, and that could be something that I hope doesn't come back to haunt us around the time like some of the strikers are out injured who are kind of dependent on maybe a Troy or an Evan or whatever. But I think the good thing about what we have at the moment is we have strikers in form that are all scoring goals. I know Evan hasn't been doing it at club level, but he's still been scoring for Ireland, and that's all that we really care.
I'd actually touch on that as well, because like for me, like I know football and I know the way it works, and I think if you look at we could get injuries or the players could dip in form, and really the ones who you don't want to dip in form is your strikers. I think our defenders can easily pull out 6, 7 out of 10 performances, but a striker won't get that unless they're active and they're creating stuff. And I honestly don't think Troy would have started if Evan was fit. And that's simple. I think Evan scored 3 in his last 4 for Ireland. So he was our leading man, and just how it worked out. Troy was in great form at club level, but I don't think they would have played 2 up top. and then the door opens for him, and he's took it. And if he stays fit and healthy, he will be our man in March. But if he's not fit and healthy, it'll have to be Evan or Adam Idah. And if they can get a run of form, whether they're starting or not, we want all three of them firing. Do you know what I mean? And Evan scored 3 out of in 4 for us, and it wasn't going so well at club level. So, that's really good. And I think Adam Idah needs a mention now, because I think this is potentially the first year he's going to get a run of games. Like he's not had that his whole career. He's still at a young age, but he's not been able to, get that robustness of playing week in, week out and starting 20, 30 games a season. And I think potentially now with him at Swansea, he can do that. So I'd like to think, and knowing Adam well, if he gets that run of games and scores goals and confidence, he's got a lot of attributes. So I'd love to see all three of them fit and healthy going into March, because, like I said, maybe one will lead the line, possibly 2 might start, one being in not their familiar position. But if you have all, and if you have all three of them firing, depending on what way the game's going, if you need them all on the pitch, you want them all in good form, and I think that would be brilliant. And I think the only positive probably with the games not being till March is the potential of getting lads playing regular football and getting into good form. Like, I'd like to think Troy will carry this on now, because there's no reason not to until March. But for the others like Adam and Evan, for them to get up to scratch and be firing, I think that even gives us an extra boost.
Yeah, and I think the most important thing that we've seen in this campaign is that all of our strikers, except for Johnny Kenny, they're all comfortable scoring in an Ireland jersey now, which they probably weren't before. Like, they all look like when they're playing for Ireland, they're all willing and able to score. Adam scored that very important goal against Hungary, which is huge now in terms of the equaliser, because if we didn't have that, we had no hope going into the last game there. So I think people maybe overlooked that as well. But as I say, the three of them were key at different stages, in different months, I suppose. They were all in their own right. So to have 3 strikers that are firing, young, hungry strikers, is exactly what we need. Look, I think of the Denmark game, and I just want to ask you as a player, because I'm almost kind of using this as a rallying cry for fans, because if we go into the game, if we beat Czech Republic, and we're not looking past them, but if it does happen, how important and how much are the fans to the players when you're playing on that pitch, when you've got the fans with you against the big nation, where we're going in and if we're 1 game away from the World Cup. We know the Aviva is going to be unreal, but how important is it to have that togetherness, as you say, between everybody going into those games? And what does it do to the players when they have the fans on side like
that? It's massive. Like, you can, without sort of fully noticing it, like, you can feel if they're with you or not. You can feel, because you're that concentrated on the game, you can feel like if they're really there, or if the game's not going well, you can feel it being a bit quieter, and you don't get a chance to glance around and see what people are saying or whatever. But it's just like a buzz. It's sort of, when they are with you, it does lift you. Like, it's so hard to describe, where, because you're just in the flow, you're in the zone, and you're playing, and yourself if you're not playing well. So the last thing you need is another 50,000 letting you know. It's hard to turn that around. So I think if we're able to get into that, like I said, cup final, and the fans are how we know they are, and they can be, like, if they're making it loud and hostile, like any country would do against us, it's definitely something special. And it's what it will do to us, but it's more what it will do to the opposition. Because the opposition, I've been there, where you go to a loud, hostile place and you see the fans, and for me, the first thing is you want to try and quieten them down. because you know they're going to give the players a lift throughout the game. So I think the main thing is having the fans there, and if the lads can and have a good start, not concede after 3 minutes would be great. But if they could just stick with the lads and carry them through it, it's definitely something special, and it's something that the opposition more than anything won't want.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. So we're gonna finish up now, but I'm sure there's gonna be a couple of people asking in the comments at the end of this. And feel free to answer this off your own will. But do you see yourself getting back into football, or have you officially called it a day?
No, as in I say no, as I've never officially called it a day. Like I was finished last year as well, and it was probably more so down to myself than anyone, because just the options I had and where I live, probably the time in my life, like my last year in football, the way Sheffield Wednesday unfolded, not being able to play or be in squads, and not being down to football and reasons, but still having to be away from my family for 4 days a week, was really tough. So then I said I wasn't going to do that again. I wasn't going to sort of live with my family, but then be away 4 nights a week. So I turned down the options, but I never fully came out and said, "Oh, I'm retired." I thought something would crop up. In the end, it did. It was Derby, but it was too late. I hadn't kicked the ball for 6 months. And then eventually, when I was getting myself up to scratch, I had a muscle injury, which, was really uncommon for me. Like, I didn't have that throughout my career. I had limited injuries. So that was tough. And then again, this summer, the options were too far away. So I wasn't willing to take them and to be away from my family. But calling it a day, I'm retired, and don't know, like, people close to me, my missus, my family, and all say, you should come out and make an announcement and retire or whatever. But that's not me. For me, it's sort of, I do say go into the shadows, but I've ended up doing media work, so I'm probably not in the shadows as it is. But don't know, that in my mind, I think I've had a good career, but to retire, to come out and make a big statement, I think only the top players do that. In my mind, probably it's me playing down what I've done in my career or whatever. But I just thought, like, nobody cares if I'm retired or whatever. So what's the point in putting a statement out? So that's why I've never done it, and probably never will. I think the people in with the FAI said, "Do you want to do a statement or whatever?" And I was like, "Nah." So yeah, I do think I'm done and I'm retired, but probably it took for me to being on TV and ask the question to probably say it. I think I tiptoed around it a little bit, just because the main thing for me was playing football and being available for Ireland. But then, with the circumstances and how I finished with Ireland under Stephen, I wasn't playing with Ireland anymore. So then it probably made not taking club football, taking a job just anywhere, just to try and be in the fold, a bit easier for me.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, so there would be a chance you'd be open to offers if anyone was watching this. That's all I was going to say. But maybe we'll say you are. So you can still get offers, and you can see where you can assess it maybe. But listen, thanks so much for coming on. You've given so much of your time, nearly an hour there, and we were speaking beforehand, and it was really insightful to kind of get an inside look as to kind of how, obviously, a lot of people don't see the inside of kind of international football and stuff like that. As you say, you just feel like you just turn up, you play, and that's it, and there's nothing more goes into it. That's the way a lot of people see it. But for you to give the insight you've given today, I'm sure a lot of fans will really appreciate it and be, really grateful for you to give up your time, as am I.
No problem at all. Yeah. like you probably sort of touched on and said, like people think you just go in and you prepare for a game, but a lot more. Like there's 23 players coming from different clubs and getting them all to gel. It'll be easier now because they've had time together, or certain players have played underage together, so that it's going to be natural to gravitate towards certain players. But to get the whole group together does take a bit of time and care, I suppose. And I feel like they found that last week, and hopefully they can just bring that forward into March, because there is going to be 4 months in between. So we need that to stick straight away when they meet back up.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm just going to finish up telling everyone who's watching this to make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, follow Jeff on social media. I think it's Jeff Hendrick 2 is your social media, is it?
Don't know. Do you want me to have a look?
No, no, it's all right. I just thought you might know off the top of your head. I can find out. I can link it below. But anyway, people search Jeff Hendrick, they'll be able to find Jeff on social media as well. So make sure you give him a follow. Make sure you like, subscribe. Tell us your thoughts on how everything has gone this week, and we will speak to you soon. Thanks for watching.